figure out why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, guys, we are live. Finally, after all the craziness with Blab, and Blab crashed, and now we're over here on Hangouts recording live and going straight to YouTube. Welcome to the WDW Parkhoppers Table for Four, and I am very excited because I have a bunch of new friends that I've just met. My name is Parkhopper John. I come to you from WDW Parkhoppers. You also might know me from the Disney Parks podcast. I record with Tony Casanova, so hopefully you know me from there. And what I'd like to do, really quick, guys, if we could, is to go around. We'll go around and introduce ourselves. So we'll do ladies first, and Mrs. Plantoons, we'll start with you.
All right. I am Mrs. Plantoons. I record with my husband. We do a vlog and a blog. You can find us at wdwplantoons.com or youtube.com/wdwplantoons or on iTunes, WDW Plantoons. All of those.
Excellent. And let's go with Josh Taylor. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about you and where you come from.
My name's Josh. I was born in Denver, Colorado. How much do you want to know? I can keep going through the whole chronological thing.
Well, don't start. I was born.
No, I was born a small black child. My name is Josh. I run Modern Mouse Radio. We're a full multimedia company where we do videos and audio and etc. But with the name, the podcast is where we kind of hang our hat at the end of the day. With Modern Mouse Radio, we kind of cover a lot of spectrums of things, but I like to look at things in a social manner or a political manner or anything. So, for example, next week's show we're talking about Song of the South and racism. Previously we've talked about Disney princesses and if they're good role models for females and for small children.
Wow.
We've talked about Epcot's real community of tomorrow that Walt wanted to build and the things that came from that are now in the real world and how we use things like monorails in large cities now to get around. We try and focus in on that, but we also have a lot of fun. We do top 10s, we do games and things like that, but I really like to now focus more on social issues tied to Disney.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel guilty because we talk about fun stuff and we don't really get that deep into it, man. That's deep. I dig that. That's a great idea. That's a great spin on bringing the Disney community into the real world. That's awesome. That's great. Looking forward to the talk tonight. And last but certainly not least, Michael from Weeby Geeks, good friend of our friend.
Don't go away.
Almost got you. Good friend Kristen and Aljon. We had them on last week, and so I'm very excited to have you on the show. So, Michael, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, for the sake of this particular show, I run a show called Mighty Marvel Geeks. We talk all things Marvel, be it Marvel Comics, Marvel TV, Marvel movies, be it Marvel Studios, Fox, Sony licensed. If it's Marvel, it's Marvel. Part of the show, we'll do a recap of the latest episode or episodes of either Agent Carter or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when they're out. We might later delve into maybe some brief recaps of the animated series on Disney XD, which there are now 4. You got Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Assemble, which is now going to be Ultron related, Ultimate Spider-Man, which is going to be Sinister Six related, and Hulk Agents of Smash. We also do our picks of the week for the upcoming New Comic Book Day, which, for those who don't know, New Comic Book Day is every Wednesday. So as we're recording tonight, today is New Comic Book Day. So last week's show had our picks for this week. There's 3 of us on the show. There's Eric Allen, Kylan Tolles, and myself. So if all 3 of us are together, that's 9 picks. We also delve into the world of Marvel Unlimited, which is the Marvel comic app that has it's a subscription-based that gives you access to over 15,000 titles. And we do our pick of the week, and our first pick of the week from that is also our book of the month, in which at the end of the month we do a book club. So we encourage everyone to get Marvel Unlimited, read the book, unless you already have a hard copy of the book or a digital copy. Read the book, send us your comments or opinions on that book, and we'll incorporate it into the book of the month. You can find Mighty Marvel Geeks. We air every Saturday night first on Sorcerer Radio, and then we release at 6:16 in the morning or 6:16 in the evening on Sundays as a podcast, which you commonly will find the book of the month. Rarely you'll get the book of the month on Sorcerer Radio because of time. And when we release on podcast, we're on iTunes, Stitcher, I think TuneIn, anywhere you could. Most podcasters out there, we're there. Or you go to the site weebiegeeks.net, which is also the home of my main show, in which we talk everything geek, movies, television, games, whatever. And of course, we tout ourselves over on that show as the official voice of the Geek Revolution. Which at the moment I have very little voice.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. You're a trooper, man. Staying up late, being sick, I appreciate it very much.
I'm used to it. I work in entertainment, so
right.
The late hours is no big deal.
And you also have, what would you say, like 18-year history with Walt Disney World, so you are also steeped in the Disney as well.
Yeah, just recently hit 18 years. I guess we'll do a Deadpool type thing and break that fourth wall. I'm a Disney cast member as well, so I'm an entertainment cast member on the technician side, primarily at Epcot. So
nice. Well, from all the Disney fans, at least from my house, because my wife and I we come from the technical background, like the AV side of life. So thank you for what you guys and your team do. Without you guys, there wouldn't be all the fun stuff that we get to do. So thank you.
No problem.
All right, so thank you guys for being here, and I appreciate you guys taking time out. So let's just kind of start. Let's start off with something relatively easy. We can all kind of ease into it. And Disney made an announcement earlier this week that one of the most beloved shows is going away. So the Dream Along with Mickey show, after a 10-year run, is going away, and we're bringing in a new Mickey and Friends Fair thing. We're doing away with the traditional princesses that we've had for a long time. We're bringing in a new group of princesses and telling all new stories. What was you guys' reaction when you saw that? What do you guys think when Disney dropped that little nugget?
I'll be honest. I love both Disneyland and Disney World, but I'm a Disneylander at heart. At Disneyland, you can walk right through the castle any time of day, and yes, they do have sporadic shows in front of the castle. The marching band plays there. You have Mary Poppins and Bert come out and do a little dance, things like that. But for Walt Disney World, there's a point in time where I just kind of wish sometimes that they would do away with the castle shows in general, and I know a lot of people love them, but the idea of being able to walk through that castle at any time is kind of that magical moment that we all saw on television as children. So to have this big blockade around the castle in general, I do like the show. I liked the show. My wife would well up when she would watch that show. Even on the YouTube video version of it, she would well up when she watched it. But there's something magical about just being able to walk through the castle at any time of day. So I'm not necessarily loving either way. If they said, hey, we're going to do away with the castle show, great. If they said we're going to keep the old show, great, whatever. But, for me, nostalgia would like me to go through those gates uninterrupted. Mm-hmm. That's just me, though.
I understand. I get that. My mom, that was the first show that she really connected with. I'm not sure she knows yet. I haven't heard screaming and wailing from Ohio, but I'm sure it's coming. What were your thoughts, Anita? Excuse me, Mrs. Plant. Can I call you Anita, or do I have to say
You
Miss
can
Plant?
call
Mrs.
no,
Plantoon?
you can call me. You can call me whatever you want.
Okay.
I have two daughters. The first one, when we took her to Disney World, she was going to be 4 years old, and we were walking past towards the left-hand side, and as we were walking past, I saw the princesses up on stage. I ran like nobody's business, and I don't run, to get her to get in front of there to see those princesses, and she like melted. She was all excited. It was fantastic. The moment was there. I have a second daughter who could care less about what princess it is as long as it's a strong one. So having Tiana up there is big. She loves Rapunzel. So she's of that, when the new movies started coming out, those are her classics. So, you know, I don't mind as long as there's somewhere in the park. It doesn't even have to be at the castle, because I think having the castle be the place for the fireworks and the grand spectacular show at the end of the night is, and the beginning of the opening of the park is fantastic. They don't need to have anything on there, but they have to have that show somewhere so that you have access to all of the princesses doing something incredible. So I really don't mind as long as it, that kind of show continues with all the characters together.
But wouldn't it be? I mean, that's one of the reasons why they built the entire princess building in Fantasyland, right? Was to be able to access any and all princesses there. They kind of have their place. I'm not saying that it's bad that they're front and center in front of the castle. I'm just stating that if you want to see the princesses, they are there.
Seeing them and having them perform for you are two different things. When you go and see them, they're snobby. They've got a rehearsed script that everyone can see through, and like the kids are looking at them like, yeah, this is ridiculous. Like if they just took a picture with a cutout, it'd almost be better. The only ones that they really connect with that way are Minnie and Mickey, where they don't see an actual person, because the person, other than if they're entertaining them, they don't connect with it at all. Cinderella was probably the nicest of the greetings, and thank goodness, because it cost you a half a kidney to get in to see her. But yeah, I'd rather go for the entertainment with the princesses than the actual, like, get a fast pass and go stand in line to see them in a place.
Well, the whole function of that show, it doesn't matter what they would put there. The whole function of that show is not necessarily to entertain or bring princesses out. It's to pull people from the lands. The lands get full at different parts of the day, and so they built the whole stage and put a show there so that they could draw people out of the lands and then redistribute people as the day goes on. So, there probably will never be a time, unfortunately, and it does break my heart, because I love the idea of being able to walk to that castle all day, but I don't think there's going to be a time when they take that stage away. It's too integral to how that park works.
Yeah, it's queue control.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I sorry to break into this, but one of the things at Disneyland that they've done is being able, and they do that partially at Disney World as well. They have the trolley car singers come down the street and jump out and do that. I don't understand why, and maybe this is a Disney World thing versus a Disneyland thing, and maybe you can jump in on this for having worked at Disney World for so long. But for Disneyland, the majority of the things that happen seem much more spontaneous. For example, you could have the marching band anywhere in any of the lands at any given time playing. You have trolley streetcar singers, you have different entertainments here and there throughout the park. At Disney World, everything is much more on a timed schedule. At 8 a.m. this happens, then at 9 a.m. this happens, and so on. And I think there is a way to take away the stage show completely, but still have exciting moments happen in the hub. Still being able to have little tiny shows happen. At Disneyland, you have 5 or 6 musicians come out with Bert and Mary Poppins, and they dance, with children in front of the castle, or they go over to what would be Casey's Corner at Walt Disney World at the Magic Kingdom, and they go over to the ragtime player and they play musical chairs with kids. There's different entertainment ideas to bring a crowd away from other lands or busier areas during the day, because Disney does the research. They know what lands are the busiest during what time of day or whenever, according to every, wait times, etc. They could pull people easily into different things. Like, okay, at 4 p.m., Pirates of the Caribbean is the longest line it ever is. Great, that's when you have the little Jack Sparrow stage show. That's when you have those little tiny things that make the days seem less planned. And that's the more magical feeling I love from Disney, regardless of where you're at the parks or whatever. I love that spontaneity that they usually, at Disneyland, put into stage shows or whatever, entertainment outside of the rides. And Walt Disney World just doesn't seem to do that as often. And I kind of miss that over at that park, because they used to. They used to do that at Walt Disney World more often.
Be honest with you, I'm not sure how management or those who control how and what shows get put where, how the timing works. Magic Kingdom, the only thing I ever did over there, truly, besides being involved in the Tinkerbell flight at the end of the night, was the program that has now been renamed Disney Performing Arts, but the old Magic Music Days. I was involved there. And of course, we had to coordinate. We had set show times for that too, so we pretty much knew coming in each year, these are our potential show times throughout the day. It is, what are they? And we knew they weren't going to vary, because that's what was our scheduled window with everything else going around, be it, I can't remember the name of the band that was in Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland Blast?
Sure.
I don't remember.
Sure.
We'll go with
The
that.
one at Cosmic Rays?
Yeah, no, not the one
that
Cosmic.
came out.
The one that came out over by Carousel Progress, and they
Okay.
performed in front of the old Tomorrowland stage when that was
Right.
there, which is now where the dance party is.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's spontaneity. No, it's more like you said. Yeah, we are more structured, but apparently that's what works for us here in Florida with the tourists, especially since we get a lot of the Europeans, and the Europeans want set now.
They want to be able to plan everything ahead of time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily. I mean, like, I sort of agree, but I don't necessarily think that, because I think the idea, yeah, maybe in Magic Kingdom, but like over in Epcot, in every World Showcase pavilion, there are performers. There are street performers.
Yes.
And yes, they are on the Times Guide, but more or less, people who stop to watch those people are people that happen to come upon them.
Agreed.
And there's something much more interesting in that aspect of it. The dance parties at Tomorrowland or wherever, and they don't work.
No.
Every time I've been there, there's 10 people there. There are 4 kids. They look uncomfortable being there. All right? The idea of having a street performer come out, the Jameters at Epcot, they seem even though it's scheduled, even though it's on the Times Guide, it seems spontaneous. And again, the majority of people connecting with the Jameters tend to be people who come upon them. And I think that could work at Magic Kingdom. And maybe there are some people who would like to schedule things in and out, but having an elaborate stage show, or like Fireworks Mike, like, there has to be a technical side to stuff like that. You know, you have to be there to make sure that Tinkerbell doesn't fall off the castle, because that would be scary. But to have a couple of musicians come out and play, you know, let's just say we're in Adventureland, they come out and play some Dixieland jazz for 30 minutes, people are going to watch it. You know, there's a possibility there. And I'm not saying that the stage show is good or bad. I'm just saying that there are possibilities to have more spontaneity or seem like spontaneity, even though it's scheduled on Disney's side, than not.
Well, like the pirate show that's over at Magic Kingdom.
Right.
The way that comes about, the way that show starts, it's supposed to be a spontaneous type opening.
And it's one of the better shows at Magic Kingdom, I think.
And it's, but like the old Woody's Roundup, you knew that was coming because you see everyone cordon off, you know, start putting down tape for where they needed to keep the area clear for whatever was coming out involved with that show.
Yeah.
So that some of the spontaneity is not there with that, but I mean, it just depends on. I guess it depends on the stage, the land, I
think it depends a lot on the park, because if you're at Hollywood Studios, you've got the Hollywood people driving up and down, and they're in character the whole time. Yeah. You could be riding the Tower of Terror, and then there's someone standing there, and you can't tell whether they're a statue or not. And then, you know, there's Marilyn Monroe on the side, and there's constantly people just coming up around that main street, coming up and down. Right. At Epcot, not as much, but they do have the high school choruses playing. They do have like little areas that you can go into that are a little quieter, where where the inventions are, and you can go and see the house burn down and stuff like that.
Which is gone, actually.
Yeah, it's just it's gone. It's
gone.
Thank goodness. It scared the heck out of my son. Like, he thought our house was burning down for a year.
Yeah, there's some revamping going on.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen him shake like that. And my other two daughters were like, "This was lame," and he's like, "Oh my God, we're going to die." It was really terrible. But yeah, there's little things like that. And the Dapper Dans still sing.
Yeah, and they're up on Main Street. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that kind of stuff that's good.
In Fantasyland, you've got the Sword and Stone, which that just seems like it's a spontaneous thing. Hey, we need someone to help come prove that they're worthy.
Okay.
Type deal. You know, and you try and pull Excalibur out of the stone.
I'm gonna do it next time. I am.
I don't control it.
Only if you're a kid.
But they also do another thing where it's like royalty. Where it's another group where they pick kids out to become royalty type deal, and that's even though it's a timed show, it comes
like
out.
The Jedi training.
Sorta, yeah.
Where there's something there, you don't necessarily sign up, but it's in that spot.
Well, Jedi Training Academy, you do sign up for now.
Right.
There is the fast pass for it.
Right.
There's
a fast pass for it. Write that down. Sorry.
With the other, with the one over in Magic Kingdom, I don't remember if it's something for princesses or what, because I'm not over there. And my time over there is kind of limited. But that's a cast member issue, and that talked about. That almost comes off as a spontaneity type thing as well, and they might do it like a couple times during the day. It's like maybe Princess Training Academy or Royalty Training Academy, something like that. I don't remember.
Oh, fun.
So that seems like it comes off spontaneity. But your stage shows, in the castle, obviously it's planned,
right?
And it's done to kind of help, again, alleviate some stress on the lands
Well, I mean,
at various
everybody
times.
plans their vacation like 180 days ahead of time. What parks they're going to be in. They can go on an app and get all their fast passes ahead of
Yep.
time, so they know exactly what they're doing. And they know, like, I mean, we've done shows where we're like, all right, you're going to go to a dessert party in this kingdom, and you're going to have to ride this transportation to get there, and you're planning out how many minutes between parks. So if you're doing all that, having it not as spontaneous is fine as long as, like, on your way to the things that you've scheduled, there's something going on.
Right.
You
Well,
see the characters out and interacting with people.
And that's a good point, because now that Walt Disney World is really completely married to the whole Magic Band idea, and those spontaneous moments are
The
happening.
fun shackles.
But at the same time, we have
The
all
failed
that planning
project.
done. What is that going to do, Josh? What's that going to do to Disneyland? Because that's coming.
I
No,
don't
it's
It's an
not.
think-
announcement. It's coming your way.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's
not?
It's not. No.
Magic Bands will not be happening at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Really?
Essentially, it's a failed project.
One of the
No.
things. Sorry, go
I
ahead,
won't-
Mike.
I was going to say, I won't tell you how much money's been spent into it. How many, we'll go Epcot, for instance. Pooh and Tigger was supposed to be in April, originally September 13, then April 14. It was originally supposed to be a Fast Pass only meet and greet.
Wow.
Yeah.
They had the computer there, they got the sensor there. Everything's there for it.
But it got dropped.
Never activated. I think they did a test for a week or two with it, where they actually had an ops person there to run the computer, but yeah, kind of see if things were working. But it never came through. It never got activated. The whole Magic Band, in many ways, it's still being forced because of the amount of money spent. So now to make it a Walt Disney World only exclusive thing, you will not find it. You will not find it in Paris. You will not find it at Shanghai. You will not find it at Hong Kong. You will not find it in California. It's now kind of an exclusive thing for us. But yeah, California, because of all the problems and everything that they had getting it active, getting it launched, getting everything switched over to it, it's not going to California. We were the test. Essentially, the test failed. They're doing everything to try and get their money's worth back from it, and I'm sure they're working on the next thing. So,
What I've been hearing, the rumblings from the Disneyland side of things, is that the kiosks at the Walt Disney World Park, so instead of having to go to Pirates to get a Pirates pass, or to go to Space Mountain to get a Space Mountain pass, there will be something like that probably, where you'll be able to go to anywhere in the park and be able to get a paper fast pass.
At a kiosk.
That will be the extent, really. You might be able to schedule some things in advance, but the whole culture around Disneyland isn't go, 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 go. The idea around Disneyland, for a lot of people that are locals, is that it's a social scene. There are a lot of people that go to have dinner and then leave. Because it's such a locals park, there are people that go, they ride 2 rides, they meet up with friends, they take pictures with characters, and then they spend 3 hours just kind of walking around Main Street, you know? The idea in Southern California is way more laid back. So I just don't feel like the majority of park goers in California want to make sure that they get their top 3, fast passes in by 10 a.m. because truthfully they don't care, which is kind of nice. I mean, you have long lines sometimes at Disneyland, but there are many times throughout the day where it's a 5-minute wait for Space Mountain.
Right. Well, the difference is too between Disneyland and Disney World. The way it was explained to me back when I went through traditions is when people how you unofficially, we were talking about this on a break when I was on traditions. Someone goes, well, I kind of like working here at Disneyland. The person goes, no. You're at Walt Disney World. Remember that.
Right.
And how you remember that is everyone in the land, in the U.S., in the country goes to the land. The country goes to California. The land goes to California. The world comes to Florida. And that's how you know. And that was the explanation of Walt Disney World as opposed to Disneyland. The world comes here. That's the easiest way to remember it.
Yeah.
Because, just point blank, the world does come here. I'm sure that there's a lot of international guests out in California as well.
Definitely, yeah.
But I can almost guarantee you we get more international guests than California does.
Well, you get more guests in general anyway.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been told, this is happening because, well, we're a destination. We're a world destination. Disneyland is a great place, but it's really a locals park. And I hear that all the time, and there's a piece of me in my heart, I know that to be true. I'm not arguing that, so please don't think that I am. But I think the very scenario, Josh, that you were saying happens here all the time on probably a percentage just as big a scale. I don't go to Disney necessarily to ride all the rides and hang out and go like tourists do, because I just want to get in. If I want to ride something, God forbid, maybe I got a fast pass, maybe I just happen to hit it at the right time. But I just think Disney to me is just a social lubricant. I just go hang out with friends.
But you are a local.
Right.
That's the difference is,
I am not a local.
You're not, but
no, and I'm very much with you there. I plan 180 days ahead of time. I know what I want to hit. I know who I want to hit it with, and my aunt lives down there, and she wants to hang out with us when we go down, and I love her so very much. But unless she wants to ride the rides with us, there's no time.
Right.
You want to have dinner? Fantastic, but we're going on Everest.
Now, what the comparison the best comparison I could probably give you though, of the 4 parks here, the one that would be probably considered the local park that the locals are going to go to the most is Epcot.
Yeah.
Fridays and Saturdays, you're going to see a lot of locals.
So much eating.
And that's the big reason right there that John. Oh no, it's not the eating.
I want to eat.
It's not the eating. It's the drinking.
Oh, the drinking. Well, yeah.
It's the drinking.
I can't say that out loud, but I would drink everywhere. Oh my gosh, they have the best of all. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the sad part is the drinking is what dominates. No matter how high Disney makes the alcohol and prices alcohol, people are going to pay it. People will clear out their bank accounts to get plastered. And I see it every weekend. I see it every major holiday. I see it every food and wine.
Well, it's because it's similar to Las Vegas. You feel like, in a way, with Epcot, you can walk around and you're basically walking the streets. You can wander the park freely with your drink. You can watch a show. There's not very many rides. So the whole point of it is being able to wander. You don't get to experience wandering around with a drink unless you want to get pulled over by a cop. And so I think that's kind of the excitement, even for locals. Okay, let's go spend 4 hours at Epcot. Let's go to La Cava de Tequila, get a couple of margaritas, then we'll head over to whatever and grab another drink.
But the difference between Epcot and Vegas is Disney's not fond of
encouraging it.
all the drunks, whereas Vegas could care less because the more you drink, the more
Yeah.
you're going to lose your
become
money
a
in
problem.
other ways. But
Las
at
Vegas
Disney,
doesn't
it
have a
has
problem.
become Disney is a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, point blank, I see it. I've seen it. I live it. Epcot's the park that I work at, so I mean, I see it constantly. After 5, 6 o'clock, it's people are a little more loose with life, so to speak, because they're just plastered. No.
Yeah, now you guys get 90 days of the Flower and Garden Festival. Lucky you guys.
Which is adding some food and wine, some food and wine elements into it.
Sure.
Which has grown gradually. I think the food kiosks just started 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, like 3 years ago. There's a few now and then they were at 11, and I think we're at 13. You know,
it might as well be renamed instead of Flower and Garden. Might as well be named Food and Wine, Food and Wine Spring.
Right.
I mean, at this point in time.
And you guys are getting, Josh. You guys are getting Food and Wine Festival back. It's been gone for a couple of years. Josh disappeared. Oh, there
Sorry, I'm here. Yeah. Well, let me be clear. I'm not a local at Disneyland. I'm from Denver. So, but I'm moving there this year. I've always been fond of the Food and Wine Festival at California Adventure because it's not like Epcot. Like you were saying, after 5 p.m. at Epcot, 1 in every 3 people that's an adult is probably inebriated to some degree. California Adventure, definitely because of the, hey, we're California, we want to show you California, is more based in maybe beers and wines. And typically, a shot of wine will be 2 ounces, maybe, that you'll get a sample. But the heavy emphasis is on food, similar to like if you go to Flower and Garden or if you go to Food and Wine. Now there's like the Florida Fresh kiosk, and that tends to be the entire Food and Wine Festival at Disneyland. There's like this California emphasis, or at least it was. I don't know how it'll be now, but there's always been kind of a California Fresh, and California, I think a majority of people would stereotype California, because it's true, is very much farm to table, vegetarian, vegan, healthier lifestyle.
That's where all the farmers are.
Of eating, yeah. So I think
right there.
I think like the idea behind Food and Wine there isn't to taste things from around the world, because that's what Epcot brings to the table.
Right.
The idea is to taste fresh foods that are local, to taste fresh wines that are local, and you can talk to the guy that made that wine. You can talk to the guy that grew, those oranges or whatever, and kind of get more of a sense of farm to table feel with your food there.
It would be more like your local city's Food and Wine Festival. Like I know Orlando is holding theirs. Either they just had it or it's coming up. I know.
Or being able to go, or being able to go to like a farmer's market and be able to taste everything for free.
But Epcot has a little bit of that.
What was that Paradise thing they used to have?
But there's also
what is it?
But it's also labeled. I mean, it's not just Epcot's Food and Wine Festival. It's Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival.
Right.
And yeah, the alcohol served from the various kiosks are little samples, but you're still paying $5-6 for that sample. But you get the samples of the beer, you get samples of the wine. Can you buy the bottles of wine? Yes. Could you potentially buy another, regular beer? I don't remember, because it's been a while since I've actually partaken as a guest in Food and Wine. Partially because, one, I just don't want to go on my days off at the moment, especially during Food and Wine. because during the food and wine time, it's not 5 o'clock that you see it. It's 1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And World Showcase opens at 11. So, I mean, it just happens that quick because you have, your 11 countries, and you have however many kiosks out there. I mean, it grows every year. Drinking around the world and during food and wine.
It's like a bar crawl.
Oh, yeah, and you're blitzed beforehand. So
Now, I've only been there during the spring and the summer. I don't go during the fall because of the school for the kids and all that kind of stuff. But so I've missed out on food and wine, mostly upset more because of the food part of it. But now that I'm hearing you guys talk, I kind of want to go to California in the fall to see what they've got going on, because that sounds a lot better than what they're doing in Florida.
Well, what they're doing with the food and wine kiosk aspect with Flower and Garden is similar to what they're doing in California, and it's but it's more it's that food to table. It's what comes out of your gardens to the table.
Now, is it what's coming out of Epcot's garden? Or at least the Florida Farmers Garden, so that it doesn't travel?
It tends to be, yeah, some of it.
Tends to be, but they still, I mean, they might talk about, other stuff, like in the, I want to say, you'll have the cranberry bog in the front, type deal. It's just a general garden. They're now incorporating, if you have a garden, here's what you could grow at home and bring to your own table type deal.
Okay.
And incorporating that and doing that type of thing with the food kiosk. And of course, you do that, you might as well go ahead and throw the alcohol because people are going to get it anyway. So let's go ahead and highlight now more the U.S. geared stuff, or what would be local to that particular country. Thing.
I mean, I can see the pairings and that kind of stuff is fine, but
and that's why a lot of it is pairings.
Nothing's been worse than when they had Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island, to me, was an affront to all things family. Like, you're there with your kids, you're around, and it wasn't that segregated from downtown Disney.
No.
So,
well, it depends on when you were there.
Okay. Yeah, it was 99.
99, I think you still had to buy a ticket to get into Pleasure Island.
They had bands when we were there, and it was awful. Now, going from there with the drunks that way to what's happening now.
What time of night? But, I mean, were you there after?
We were there probably around 8 o'clock, 9, walking around after dinner, yeah.
And you didn't have to buy a ticket? Because I know that was a hard ticket at that point.
No.
Usually
we were on our
Or wait.
Yeah, like they would let people walk through, but you had to buy a band for all the different clubs, except for the comedy club and maybe one of the other ones. You could go to the comedy club as a family.
Right.
That was something that they integrated. But I think you're right, Mike. There was a point when you did have to buy a separate ticket.
Yeah, at one point there was a separate ticket. I don't remember when that dropped. I think that ticket then became in order to go into the clubs, you had to have a band. If not, you weren't allowed in.
Now those people were still coming out, wandering around everywhere. They were all over. I still think that was worse than anything Epcot's ever done.
But I'll give you this comparison. When my wife and I got married, we went to New Orleans for our honeymoon.
Yes.
That was the first half of our honeymoon. Second half is we came to Walt Disney World. We're walking down Bourbon Street in the morning.
Morning 1 a.m. or morning 8 a.m.? I used to live in Texas, so I understand the times.
I used to live in Shreveport, Louisiana.
There you go.
We were probably there. It was. I will safely say it was between 9 and 11 in the morning on Bourbon Street.
Okay.
Normal business day. Bourbon Street's not. I mean, shops are open, but the bars are very minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not at full tilt
Mhm.
after 6 o'clock type deal. Here's a family: mom, dad, couple kids. Kids were 6 and younger,
Mhm.
and you hear the mom. They should put in the flyers that Bourbon Street's not a family-friendly street. You know
Oh,
what?
After the liquor.
okay.
To bring it to the forefront of today, you're seeing all this stuff on Facebook. I'm going to now tag the Marvel. All the people. Somebody should have given a heads up that Deadpool's not a kid-friendly movie.
Read a comic book.
No, the R rating wasn't a clue.
Even one.
The R, that's one. Two, your lead actor, Ryan Reynolds, is going, don't bring your kids.
Yeah.
Three, when they turned around earlier this year, or late last year, it was originally given an NC-17 rating. They're going,
Really?
don't worry, we're fighting it to get it down to an R rating. You don't take your kids. Pleasure Island's almost the same way.
Oh, sure.
But
at 8 o'clock walking around downtown Disney.
8 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
if you're crossing into Pleasure Island, it's like the family walking down Bourbon Street. It's not family friendly.
They had the same problem with Extraterrestrial when that was there before Stitch. Yeah, every ride in the whole place is fine. They go into this alien thing and scares the crap out of them.
But there were warnings.
Of course there were. But it's
and
Disney World. It's supposed to be safe.
But there's warnings.
Yes, but warnings for an alien is different than warnings for the alcohol. And people. You can't put a warning on certain people and how they act.
That's the thing. It's the generation that's out there today.
Okay, so that's the problem, not necessarily that Epcot's this way. There you go.
It's not the parks.
Okay.
Disney's doing their best.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't be surprised within the next 5-10 years, you're going to be paying $18 for a bottle of beer or for a cup of beer. Why? Because they're trying to discourage people from getting drunk and trying to climb the pyramid in Mexico. Which that video just happens to be the first time someone got caught. It's not the first time it's been done.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the prices of alcohol are so high.
Do you think that it might be a good thing for them to do, like, you punch a ticket, and this is how many stands you can go to? And then you have to present the ticket.
I don't see that happening because you're going to get the complaints, and they don't want the complaints.
All right.
Yeah, everybody's got a different tolerance. Like, I can have way more alcohol than other friends of mine can, and yet I can't have as much alcohol as other friends of mine because they'll drink me under the table. It's kind of hard to legislate that.
You take me 22, 23 years ago, I could outdrink me today. Easily. I'm one of those. I'm a lightweight now, by comparison. No, I go beyond a second glass of wine, or I go beyond a second drink, and I'm done for the night. But yeah, I see people at Epcot all the time. You see them go to that point of they're beyond that last drink. You see them go for the chug, and that head just relax just enough and sit one last time. It's like, yeah, you have just crossed the line.
Is this a Walt Disney World problem? Does this happen a lot in California?
Yes and no. Like, there are people who do it.
Like, on you.
There are not people who make little, tiny booklets for drinking around the world. I mean, like, drinking around the world at this point is like destination there are adults who definitely plan a day at Food and Wine or even just a normal day at Epcot to drink starting at 11 a.m. on either side and make it all the way around. California, again, much more relaxed, much more locals. There are some tourists, but obviously Disneyland is alcohol free. Disney's California Adventure does have alcohol. They do have margaritas. They do have beer kiosks and things like that. But maybe on a Saturday night, you might see a group here or there, especially when you get to the Mad Tea Party, which, in my opinion, is the only good dance party idea ever that Disney had.
Which is gone.
Is it?
Mad Tea Party's there.
No, it's
They
gone.
brought it back.
It's going away again.
Yeah, it's going away again. But there are people that drink there. But I think for the majority of people that go, they may go have a drink or might go have dinner and drinks or something like that. But otherwise, you definitely don't see, 30% of the population at 8 p.m. Pretty obliterated. That's just kind of not the lifestyle I think that Californians have, and it's not the lifestyle I think that they like to represent to the tourists that go to Disneyland. The Food and Wine Festival, I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like going now, so it might change, but as far as what I've seen, you have the Disneyland social clubs, and you have a lot of younger participants at Disneyland. It's a much more 20s and 30s crowd at Disneyland right now, the entire premises. But I don't really ever see like rowdiness the way that I do at Epcot. You don't see people climbing up, an Aztec, a fake Aztec temple, or you don't see people throwing up or anything like that. And I've definitely seen that at Epcot.
Right now, with Disney World or WDW, the only place at Magic Kingdom that you're gonna find alcohol is Be Our Guest.
Right.
There's been talks of allowing it, but there's also been a lot of pushback as well. And there's still been a lot of pushback that they're even allowing it at Be Our Guest.
Yeah, the naughtiest I ever felt was taking a flask into the Magic Kingdom for New Year's. I know it's nerdy, but I was walking around like a grown-ass man. I should be able to have a cocktail, but anyway. But yeah, so I would prefer Be Our Guest is fine, because you can get alcohol at Club 33 in Disneyland. And I know Disneyland is a dry park as well. I would prefer them to keep it out of Magic Kingdom just for one bastion of completely family friendly, no hint of it. I would prefer that, but I understand, it's a great way to make money, and people prefer wine at dinner. I'm with you on that. I totally get that.
But I think, just like alcohol served at Disney California Adventure, but not in Disneyland, it's that it's the purity of the park. It's the purity of the whole castle feel. Being where there's a castle present. Alcohol just doesn't need to be served. I don't think it needs to be in the park, period.
Club 33 is different because it's exclusive. It's not an everyday person can jump in on that. And that was because Walt Disney made Club 33 that way. It wasn't even meant for the people that go there now. It was made to take, political figures and celebrities and wine and dine them like that. It was never meant for any public people to be there.
Yeah, it's literally you had to have a magic ticket to get in.
Right.
Type deal. You still do now, and those people can still bring people in with them, but the wait list to get a magic ticket is still out the wazoo. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, so let's flip gears a little bit. We've talked a little bit about parks, and I know all of us here cover Disney in different regards, and I know I want to talk about it just a little bit, and I don't want to keep you guys too much later. It's kind of late on this coast anyway. But I'd like to talk about today is a big day in the Donahue household because they started filming principal photography for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians is my favorite Marvel movie because I'm just a nerd for classic 70s and 80s music. So I'm really excited about that. And we've got we've got Mike, who's a Marvel nut. So before Mike and I launch into this and everybody else goes to sleep, how are you guys excited for any of the Marvel or what's coming out with Disney? We got Zootopia coming out, or even Pixar. Josh has got an amazing Pixar ball. I stare at it. It's so awesome. So what's coming down the pipe as far as Disney movies or Marvel movies or even Star Wars stuff? What's got you the most excited?
I guess I'll go first then, since everybody else is quiet. I'm excited.
I was told I gotta wait.
Yeah, I'm super excited for Guardians. To me, Civil War, super cool. I'm way into it. But we had all these Avengers movies, and then Guardians came out, and it was this really fresh breath of air. It was so different from what we were getting from these Avengers films. I really look forward to it. They gave us a little bit of that with Ant-Man. They kind of have that same mixture of what made Guardians work. But I really look forward to seeing some of the characters and some new characters that are going to come into play in the Guardians universe. I'm excited for Zootopia. When I was at the D23 Expo, I got a chance to see some clips from Zootopia and to see some of the actors and ask them questions and stuff. And this is kind of hearkening back to The Jungle Book and to Robin Hood and to those old anthropomorphic films. Disney's done fairy tales and princess stories, but they've also had a really long lineage of anthropomorphic films that we haven't seen for a while. So it's kind of cool to see something like this. I think the cast is incredible. I think that the humor could be really great. I'm really looking forward to Zootopia. The only movie I think this year that I'm not looking forward to is Alice Through the Looking Glass. I'm not a fan of Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. I'm a big fan of Tim Burton, but not of his rendition of Alice in Wonderland. I'm not looking forward to Johnny Depp once again being the Mad Hatter. I know it made a lot of money, but that's really the only movie that I'm kind of wishy-washy on this year. But otherwise, I think a lot of the lineup from Disney, Marvel, Pixar, Lucasfilm, they all look really good. And I think that they could have a tremendous year just like they had last year. Last year it was like knocking it out of the park on all levels. I expect nothing less this year. So.
All right. Anita, go ahead. I don't care. Whoever wants to jump in, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike. You and I, buddy. Let's go at it.
Let's give Anita a chance to talk first before we open the doors. Because the doors are going to turn into floodgates, and we're just going to go.
Anita, are you there? You froze up, pal. They're having trouble with staying online. Let's go ahead. Go ahead. Right. Open the floodgates. Release the hounds.
Okay. Guardians. I am excited that to hear production started. Just like with Star Wars Episode 8, production has started. So we got two big movies that have started within the last couple weeks. Ranking of films, I thought Guardians was great, but I didn't think it lived up. To me, it just missed that hype of being the next Star Wars, as everyone was touting it. That wasn't for me. It wasn't there. For me, my favorite Marvel movies so far have been the Captain America movies. Iron Man was amazing. Iron Man 2 was great. Iron Man 3 bomb. Thor, it might as well have been named Loki, because you had Loki and Loki 2. Because Loki is what carried that movie. The first Avengers movie was great. Loved it. Age of Ultron, to me, seemed rushed. I know the story well. It just seemed rushed on getting to that point. Civil War, just for clarification, if you've read the comics, Civil War in the comics was about whether there should or should not be mutant registration. Kind of touched on in X-Men 3, The Last Stand by Fox. Well, Fox owns the right to use the word mutant when it comes to a Marvel property. Marvel Studios does not, even though it's Marvel Studios. It's part of the whole licensing agreement. What we're going to see here with Civil War is how much should the government control? It's going to be a big key of it.
Why can't they just use the Inhumans instead? Or is that a stupid question?
They are using the Inhumans. That's
Okay.
why between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're doing the whole push for the Inhumans.
Okay.
This is why you're hearing more Inhuman reference instead of mutant reference.
Right.
And enhanced.
Or enhanced.
Right.
Hence why. Oh, let me get my list.
Wow.
If it hasn't already been canceled, I don't remember it being announced. It might be pushed back to 2020. But at the moment, I gotta get the updated list. July 2019 is the Inhumans movie, but they've been pushing so much for it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. Been utilizing it.
Right.
They just announced Slingshot's going to be coming in the second half of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Slingshot's a big Inhumans character. Where do you go? Movie-wise, I mean, this year, from the Marvel side, you have Civil War in May. I'm very excited for Civil War. You're going to see a change to the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. included.
Right.
In May.
Even bigger than the change from the last Captain America movie, which was pretty dramatic. That was a major shift.
Even bigger than Winter Soldier, yeah.
So,
now, Mike, you kind of crapped all over Thor there for a second. I just want to make sure I put in a couple cents on.
See, she talked about Thor, and look what happens.
we're gonna have to get back to that.
I think Thor is very heavily almost like a DC type of movie or comic, in that the villain really is the draw.
There she is.
Much
There
more.
I am.
So, what were you gonna say about Thor before we lose you again?
I'm just saying. Okay, so let's look at Thor not necessarily as a storytelling thing, but a place where women can go and
Thor can go to hell.
watch Chris Hemsworth.
That's Dominic, by the way, if you haven't guessed.
Many times. And, in the second one, you can even do a little shower shot with the, and you wait the whole time for it. Like, yeah, I agree. You should not have as much Loki.
I'm shocked that you don't have FX on right now. It's on right now. Thor Dark World is on right now. And guess what my wife is watching?
Now, Loki 2.
Loki 2.
Loki 2.
So I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Who are you more drawn to, Thor or Loki?
Thor.
As a character or as a big hunk of man?
In the sense of the two films. Are you drawn more to Thor or are you drawn more to Loki?
Thor, because he's more trustworthy. He feels like he could take care of you. he could, sweep Natalie Portman right off her feet and, all of those wonderful things, I would go for Thor because Loki's a lying, cheating bastard. Oh, I don't know if I could say that on here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can. I don't care.
Okay.
Then you're in the small percentile. God, I can't talk tonight.
So,
because more people would prefer Loki over Thor.
Aww.
I mean,
Is he a more interesting character? Yes.
Yes.
He has
Oh,
more
very
passion.
much so.
However,
Loki carries the movie.
yeah. And I'll be honest with you. A couple years ago, Tom Hiddleston came out at D23, and he sang a song from the Jungle Book. And at that moment, I didn't care who he was. I was going to root for that character.
You're like, I'm in.
And then Hulk had the best line in the Avengers movie after he beat the crap out of Puny God. That was the best line in the whole movie.
Loved it.
But I do have a question. What does Deadpool do to the Marvel Studios Marvel movies?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
What?
It doesn't. You don't think it affects it at all in any way?
No.
They went hard R and they got it, and it was super popular, and it has no effect on it. You think?
I don't think it does either.
Really?
I mean, Fox is coming out and saying, "Oh, we're going to pursue a hard R for Wolverine." Okay, you just now alienated 2/3 of your audience who has seen X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Right.
God help you. And the Wolverine, which I didn't think was too bad. By going hard R, you're alienating crowd.
Do you really think it's 2/3?
Yeah.
Children, yeah, absolutely.
Children, and then young adults, because Deadpool, again.
I wouldn't let my 14-year-old go.
And you shouldn't.
I totally agree.
17 and up.
Yeah.
That's what the rules state for our restricted is no one under the age of parental guidance was suggested parental guidance with a 17 or younger a minor has to be accompanied by an adult up until the age of 17 for an R-rated film. Period.
Now, she read the comic books, but I'm not letting her go to the film.
I commend you for letting her read the comic books because the comic books are almost the same way.
They are, but it's a different thing when you see it come to life.
It is.
Completely.
But in the different aspect, let's go with the reverse with a comic to screen adaptation.
Yes.
Jessica Jones.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my Lord. Alias.
She hasn't read those.
Don't let her, because book 1, first page,
wow, the
F-bomb is dropped 6 times.
Right.
And happens to be the very first word on the page. What they did for Netflix was very, very tame,
right.
As opposed to the book. And it worked. Deadpool, though, you can't. So now, with Deadpool being as violent as it is, because it's a violent character, I mean, Deadpool's your anti-hero. I mean, he is your mercenary. Mark with a mouth it's his nickname. With Deadpool getting the hard R, borderline NC-17, and now the Fox going, oh, we're going to do the same thing with Wolverine. Okay, so just because Wolverine has the claws and can be gory doesn't need to be gory. And that's the whole thing Fox is going to do, is they're going to turn it into a slasher film.
Really?
If they're saying they're pursuing an R rating with it now, they're going to go
it's going to be
that route. It's going to turn into a slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
I think jumping back to Marvel, the original question here being, is Marvel now affected by this, or at least Disney's Marvel? And I don't think so. I think the vast audience can separate, from what is what. Obviously, we see Disney's cinematic universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. X-Men came out first class. Fantastic Four came out. I don't, in my mind, they're different. They're completely different entities. Just because they're all under the Marvel landscape does not mean
Right.
No. that those all exist
Now,
in the same way.
if we want to be critical and say, okay, this is that the show we're on right now is a Disney show, and we're only going to talk about Disney properties, that's fine. We don't talk Deadpool. We don't talk X-Men. We don't talk Fantastic Flop. We don't talk, and up until late last year, we don't talk Spider-Man. Period. You only talk Avengers. You only talk Guardians of the Galaxy. You don't talk Iron Man, Thor, and Cap to this point, because that's the Marvel Studios.
Yeah, and I think, but even if you were to talk those things, I think that the majority of Marvel superhero moviegoers can separate what has been made by Fox, what's been made by Disney. Most people, I think, can recognize that Batman does not live in the exact same world as Spider-Man. Superman doesn't live in the same world that Captain America's in. Even people that have not read the comics, I think, see that.
Right.
And they've done well enough in the films to make them distinguished enough.
Well,
they're separate.
And that's the difference between Marvel and DC as well. Marvel, their universe is our universe.
Right.
DC is, you really don't hear New York mentioned. You don't really hear LA mentioned in the stories.
Metropolis, Gotham,
it's Metropolis, Star City, Central City, whatever. Yes, it could take place in our world, but the cities are purely fictional. Whereas, Marvel, you're like, oh yeah, I drive by that building every day, and it's right here in my comic book. That's the type of feel. I mean, for a while, Daredevil had gone out west to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Will it affect? I guess for me to answer, will it affect? No, because maybe push to the border of R in that PG-13 realm, maybe, but I don't think we'll ever cross over into the R rating. If you do, it would be a character or a couple of characters that have already been there pre the Disney purchase, and and these are characters that are back in the Marvel Studios control, and that would be Punisher and Blade. And personally, if Disney wanted to do their R-rated movie to come to now battle against Deadpool, it's going to be Punisher.
Yeah.
And I don't see it happen. You're going to see that dark grittiness like Jessica Jones in a Punisher series on Netflix,
which they've already announced. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where you're going to get it.
Here's a question, and I don't want to. I know, John, it's your show, and I don't want to trudge on it too much, but I do want to bring up the idea. A lot of people would say, although Man of Steel is considered the first in the DC universe, but Batman vs Superman is kind of the jump start of the DC movies being all the time now. So now we've got DC from Warner Brothers, we've got Fox with whatever they want to do with some of the properties they have. If they want to make 17 Fantastic Four movies to try again, sure. And then we've got Disney, and then we have offshoots sometimes of different superhero movies. in all different ways.
Well, then
Um,
you have Wonder Woman, you have the
Okay,
Legends thing coming out, you have
that's all
that's
DC.
all
Yeah,
DC.
and
Totally different company.
but in
but
general,
I'm watching them.
yeah. And let me just ask this in
Oh, I'm
general,
watching them too.
Yeah,
But
especially
it's
with you being a superhero Marvel geek, you know. And this was a topic I brought to my show, Modern Mouse Radio, um, a little while ago when they announced the DC film universe. Is when is the oversaturation going to happen? When are we going to finally hit this point of superhero movies where it's I'm over it? You know, is there going to be that spot? Because we've already said there's going to be phase 3. Great, there's going to be more phases. We're going to go past 2020. Are we going to see one a month here? Are we going to see, you know, during the summer blockbuster season, we're going to see one superhero movie a week? Like, when does the uniqueness of the comic book characters, superheroes in general, coming to life die down?
at the moment, it's going to die down in 2019.
You think so? Because I think as long as they're making money, but like,
I know
well,
so.
yeah, you like, but that doesn't mean that
I
they're
mean, this
not
is
going to
over.
continue
this is
to
everything
add to
from.
that list.
Oh no, but I mean, this year you got
Yeah, yeah.
seven superhero films coming out between now and October. Next year, between March and November, you got 7 films coming out. That's 14 films in 2 years.
We're gonna like, I mean, how
We're
much
we're
can
going to be oversaturated there.
right?
And talking Marvel, DC, Fox, and Sony are all involved in this. Well, actually, no. Sony's not in the picture. Well, Sony's in the picture next summer, July 17.
Yep. And it's big bucks now, and all of these companies, all these movie producers are jumping on the fad. But the problem is, just like any type of fad, the oversaturation happens and kills the industry completely. You know,
Yeah.
do you see the Marvel superhero or the superhero movie in general dying?
Yeah,
No.
if I could jump in on that real quick, I think that as long as the stories are good, I mean, stop and think about it. We went for years and completely off the subject of superhero movies, no Sherlock Holmes at all of any sort, and then all of a sudden we have the Robert Downey Sherlock Holmes, and we have the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes, and then we have Elementary on CBS. Now we have a lot of Sherlock Holmes versions, and they're all really good story-driven product. And I think as long as Marvel keeps putting out great stories, you know, and you could argue some of the stories for, you know, Shield maybe aren't that strong, maybe some of the stories for Agent Carter aren't that strong, but the Daredevil stuff, the stuff they're putting out on Netflix is incredibly good. All the movies have been pretty strong for the most part. There's a couple of not so great moments, but still.
Thor.
Yeah, well, yeah. but as long as the products are good, that's why I think that, if I could just rip on it for just a second, that's why I think DC is a little concerned, because what's coming out on TV is better than the product I think they're getting ready to put out in the movies.
Totally agreed.
Okay.
I'm right there.
What's DC's mistake?
No, oh God, poor writing, no continuity. There's no grassroots.
Mm-hmm.
Am I anywhere close?
I think they're jumping the shark.
Possibly.
They're jumping the shark right out the gate.
Okay, big difference between DC and how they're handling their universe, their celluloid universe, and Marvel and how they're handling theirs. What's been the one key phrase Marvel's been pitching from the beginning of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? It's all connected.
Right. Right.
You see it with Daredevil. You see it with Jessica Jones. You see it with S.H.I.E.L.D. You see it with Agent Carter.
Right.
You see it with all the movies. It's all connected.
But don't you see that now? They're trying to correct it with the Legends of...
No. Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
DC has come out. I mean, they have come out and said Flash,
Your
Arrow, Legends Tomorrow.
Tunes just said the same thing.
Yeah, different universe.
There, and even even Supergirl
They can't have two Flashes.
is in the
In different
debatable.
line, not.
I love comic books.
But even Supergirl is being considered a different universe than everything on the CW, even though CBS owns the CW.
Well, she made a guest appearance on in the portal, and
again, which universe is that in? Because you also saw a different Arrow, you also saw a different Flash.
That's no good.
True, but you're
during that portal jump.
You're dealing with different Earths,
right?
And I know there's going to be a crossover. Is it
March 28th?
Flash is the crossover.
The Flash will appear in Supergirl.
Right.
I believe March 28th.
Yeah, and that was the thing. The other thing to consider, the difference between how Marvel handled it is they started out with Iron Man, and we were all in with Iron Man. As soon as Robert Downey Jr. looked in the camera and said, "I'm Iron Man," I was hooked. And then we did Captain America, and the second that skinny dude jumped on that grenade, I was in love with Captain America. He was my hero. And I was
there when he pulled the pin out of the flagpole.
Yeah. So you have these characters that you fall in love with, and then we smash them together for the Avengers. What DC's doing is we're going to pit our two big, arguably, our two big people that everybody loves. We're going to pit them against each other, and then out of that's going to come the creation of the Justice League versus do great Batman, do great Superman, do great Wonder Woman. Let us love these characters, move forward, and then create the Justice League. That's another distinction that they're doing a little different too.
But that's the problem. Technically, Batman versus okay, as we say on the other show, on my other show, Weeby Geeks, Batman Heart Superman: The Flop of Justice.
Wow.
It's technically Man of Steel 2. Technically. Yeah. It is a sequel to Man of Steel. I'm not saying Superman because the name Superman hasn't been dropped yet, except on Supergirl, which is not the same universe according to DC, because you have the DCCU and the DCTU, and that's the way it's going to be. The catch, though, is there will be a Justice League movie. They're using this to kind of form that Justice League movie. Batman's going to have his own movie. I don't even remember. I don't even see it on here. But I know that's been announced.
2018.
Is it?
It's either that or next year. I think it's 2018.
It might be next year, actually. I got to get a new updated list. Because Fantastic Flop 2 has been taken off the table as well. Which, great. That needs to come back to Marvel. That needs to come back to the Marvel Studios. And really, out of the Fantastic Flop franchise, the only character Marvel needs is Doctor Doom. Period. We don't need the other characters. And I'm sorry, if they ever bring up the Illuminati, I will be done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because I totally hate the Illuminati. Oh, please don't. I totally hate the Illuminati story arc, and now they're doing an Illuminati book, and I'm hating it completely. But DC, the things they've done right, it's a TV show and their animated stuff. Their animated movies blow Marvel's out of the way. The only decent animated Marvel movie that's come out is Planet Hulk. All the others are awful. I mean, point blank. I hate to say that as a Marvel show, but I mean, they're not that strong. Now the Marvel animated series, I mean, they're pretty decent.
Where do we go to find those?
You could go to Marvel.com to their shop, Amazon, iTunes.
So they're not like on Netflix or Hulu or anywhere that we can access. They're not accessible.
They might be on Hulu.
Some of them are on Netflix. Hulk and the Agents of Smash is on Netflix.
The
Okay.
animated shows are there. They're also on Disney XD.
Right.
Because I watch all the Batman ones and all of the like the Batman versus Superman there with the which one's the one with the eagle on his arm?
Oh, that's Dark Knight.
Oh my gosh, when the eagle lands on Superman, I mean, come on, nothing's better than that.
Yeah.
Oh, check that out.
Yeah.
So,
Just if they're a fan, but if there's stuff out there that I don't know about, I need to be able to find it.
and you need to be listening to Weeby Geeks and Mighty Marvel Geeks.
Right?
Yeah, come on.
Right?
Sorry, I'm gonna get that. I worked in the cheap plug on that one.
No, that's okay, man. That's
So-
okay.
But going back,
School this lady.
but I think, I guess going back to Josh's original question, because we really
Put down
left
some
turn.
fatty rabbit holes.
I'm sorry.
We missed a left turn at Albuquerque somewhere. The Marvel movies coming out this year, and I'm just gonna bring up Marvel Studios. You got Civil War, and then you also got Doctor Strange. I think Doctor Strange is gonna be pretty decent.
Benjamin Cumberbatch. Yeah.
You got Benedict Cumberbatch,
I'll go do
and,
it.
and it's the first realm to, or the first time we're gonna see more of the mystic arts.
Really?
More
In the
magic.
Marvel universe. Yeah, I mean, you see a little bit of it with Scarlet Witch, but we're going to get more into it. And there's talk that even Doctor Strange might be a part of the Defenders, because he was in the comics. There's talk that you might, with Doctor Strange, have him tie in with a Ghost Rider Blade series for Netflix. Which Blade would be great. Ghost Rider, I could care less either way. Nick Cage kind of ruined that. Oh, those were awful. If you liked they were awful. Thankfully, those were pre Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Okay.
or pre Marvel Studios. Sony has now, they're going to distribute Spider-Man. Marvel's going to write it. Sony has a say in casting, but they're leaving it in the hands of Marvel to cast it as well. Hence why we're seeing Spider-Man in Civil War. Hence why I say we're going to see things changing. Spider-Man's now part of the cinematic universe. And which is great. That's where it needs to be. Spider-Man is a key part in Civil War in the comics and will be in the movie. I like how they're taking the same approach with the trailers like they did, like Lucasfilm did with Star Wars. Every trailer, we haven't seen Spider-Man yet. We didn't see Luke. I mean, it was implied that the one character was Luke, but you never saw his face. How much of a role is Spider-Man going to have? Don't know, but it's going to be great because we're going to see Spider-Man from into this universe for the first time and not see him as an adult. We're going to see him as a kid and actually be a kid and see that growth and eventually maybe get to a Miles Morales or get to I would love to see a whole Web Warriors storyline eventually come up. Fox controls the Fantastic Four franchise and they've been cursed ever since the 1994 Roger Corman film that was made, advertised. It was pushed hard, theatrical trailers, posters, everything, and then 2 weeks before air date, everything pulled. The whole campaign, everything. told, no, it's going into the vault and staying there, never come out. But yet there is a leaked copy of it that floats around conventions all over the place. So, but it was never officially released, never will be officially released. And until it's finally released, I think even on DVD or Blu-ray, Fox is going to be cursed. And and the only way that the Fantastic Four is going to not be cursed is it comes back to the Marvel Studios and becomes a Marvel property. And I don't know. See what happens. Fox is, I mean, they're on the clock now. They got so many years to get it production started. I think they got until like 2017 to get it started. If they don't get it started by a certain point, it automatically reverts back. Disney could also make the push for if they feel that Fox has been that the movie was extremely detrimental to the franchise, which I think this last one was very close because they totally changed the whole concept behind the group. And it's not the Fantastic Four we know, except for, well, one could stretch, one could turn invisible, one could flame up, and one turns into a rock creature. Other than that, there's nothing else similar to the stories. And that's part of the whole reason why Marvel was very quickly to make sure it died on the comic shelves.
Right.
So, but outside of Marvel, you've got X-Men Apocalypse this year, and supposedly Gambit comes out this year as well. Gambit, I'm kind of looking forward to. Marvel movie, but of the Marvel Studio stuff, I'm looking forward to Civil War for this year, and Guardians is going to be fun next year.
Yeah. So there's a lot of great stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be super saturated, but like I said, as long as the movies and the stories are good, I'm going to keep watching them.
We're going to be super saturated.
That's
There's
right.
no doubt.
That's right. All right. Well, guys, we've been down a lot of rabbit trails, and it's been great. I love conversations like this, and I love not having to talk a lot, which is great. But I do have to wrap this up because somebody has to go to bed and get up early in the morning. So let's go around, and why don't we start with we'll go in reverse order. So Mike, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and what you do on the internet real quick, and we'll wrap this up.
You can find me quite a few different places. On Twitter at Marvel Geeks. Right there. Also find me on Twitter at WeebyGeeks, WeBegeeks. Website, weebygeeks.net. Mighty Marvel Geeks and Weeby Geeks on Facebook. Weeby Geeks on Instagram. Other than that, I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay, excellent. And Josh, where can people find you all over the internets?
You can find me modernmouseradio.com. That's where all of our stuff goes up, and it's not just me; it's a bunch of other people. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at modernmousejosh. That's also my Instagram and Snapchat names there. You can find our Facebook page /modernmouseradio. And I just recently launched another podcast, so if you want to follow that, it's How Music Changed the World, and my Twitter handle for that one is at @HowMusicChanged. So that's where you can find me on the interwebs. I'd love to chat with anybody who wants to talk Disney, music, anything. I'm game for it.
Excellent. I watched it was on Netflix last night. It was the Wrecking Crew. Story of the band from the 60s and 70s, the LA band that was doing all the tracks from the 60s and 70s. It's a great, speaking of music, it's old music, but it's
a great doc.
It's a great documentary.
Yeah.
All right, last and certainly not least, this is WDW Plantoons, excuse me. Where can we find you upon the interwebs?
You can find us at wdwplantoons.com or on iTunes at www.plantoons.com. And you can find me at Mrs. Plantoons. And I just bring the funny. I try. That's my job. I make fun of a lot of things. So being
So
here and
add
listening to all of
Thor
these
to that list.
wonderful, like, yeah, right? So, I have to bring out those things that nobody really likes. And I mean, dude, if I could take Chris home with me, I don't listen. Go away.
All right.
Go away.
Dude, Dominic just got replaced.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm the one that brings the funny.
That's
So if
awesome.
you want to laugh and you want to have some fun, come on over.
Yeah. They do really cool. What they do is they record a podcast and then they turn it into a cartoon, like a cartoon.
Cartoon
Really
short,
cool.
yeah.
It's really amazing.
And we do, he does.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you
I
just bring the funny.
literally bring the funny.
You just bring the funny. And, obviously you can find me over at WDW Parkhoppers, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything is WDW Parkhoppers. I would love to see you over there. And gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening. I had a great conversation. I would love to do this again sometime if you guys would be interested. Hopefully, we won't have the technical problems that we did on the front end of the evening again. But you guys are troopers.
Hydra.
It's all Hydra. If I had the money, I would send you money. I appreciate you all, and I'm very serious. Let me know when you guys are in town, and first round's on me, I promise. But thank you guys for being a part of it, and thank you if you're listening out there. Thank you guys for taking time to listen, and we're looking forward to another episode of Table for Four next week, and we'll have a whole new cast of characters, and it'll be a lot of fun. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you.